Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending our Fresh Global Local Capacity Systems presentation, presented by Kamal Liswalicha. Um, to give you an overview, we're going to talk a little bit about who is Fresh Global, um, the relationship that Fresh Global wants to have with USNet, um, going to discuss some of the NGO challenges to obtain donor funding, discuss about what services we offer, and what are some of the fresh global solutions to the NGO challenges, and discuss next steps. So, who is Fresh Global? Um, Please allow me to give you a short story of Fresh Global and the co-founder, Kamal Liswalicha. 40 years ago, a young man attended a university and participated in a workshop that changed his life. In those years, obtaining information was not as easy as going to the internet. Excuse me. You had to read and listen to the right people. What galvanized his attention was the history of African people, culture, music, and arts. He knew there was a connection because while in seventh grade doing world history class, Africa, the continent, was the only place where people looked like him. So in the university, he read twice as many books about Africa as he was reading his university books. And from that time, he began a journey. He graduated and attended grad school. He attended Howard University. And at that time, the university had the highest diversity of African and Caribbean students in the USA. He developed close relationships and learned a lot about cultural diversity and the current situation in different African countries. It was exciting and sometimes overwhelming to know the multitude of languages and customs. After graduation, he worked as an auditor for Ernst and Young, and then became a U.S. diplomat and started working for the U.S. Agency for International Development, better known as USAID, in Cote d'Ivoire, as a financial manager. Afterwards, he traveled to Uganda as a deputy financial controller. And after 12 years with USAID, he decided to work for international and local NGOs in the project implementation and to build local capacity for NGOs. And he worked in those positions as the director of finance, the deputy chief of party, and the chief of party. But during uh, those assignments, he began to develop his own interest in starting his own business and focusing on strengthening local NGOs as they are crucial to development change. Therefore, he created a cadre around the world and designed tools and services that will help local partners to receive donor funding, but more importantly, tools that will lead to sustainability. And so, Fresh Global is a capacity building firm strengthening local NGOs with offices in Uganda and in Kenya, and has registered in 4 other African countries and is expanding. The company has 40 combined years of USAID and international development experience, and we are dedicated to helping local NGOs and social entrepreneurs. Now, what services do we offer? One is the virtual finance controller service. And we offer e-procurements, virtual human resources, grants administration, which goes into understanding compliances and other stipulations of grant and contracts, as well as we do assessments of NGOs and customized training, and then institute a monitoring evaluation of those NGOs. And these are some of our core services. We do also get into proposal writing, as well as fundraising mechanisms. Okay. Now, the relationship that we want to have with UWASNet is one of partnership. We are not trying to sell you a software package or anything like that. We want to work with UWASNet in building a solid organization to implement programs on behalf of the donors and the government to benefit the community, the stakeholders. And in that, we realize that UWASNet brings the program technical expertise, while we at Fresh brings the program support expertise, as well as the donor intelligence and other tools to the table. And with that, we would work jointly together to develop proposals to submit to donors, as well as any other resource agents. And we understand that UWASNet will lead the sector development within the consortium with their NGO members as sub-grantees or subcontractors. So with this relationship, the long-term goals of UWASNet and Fresh is for UWASNet to become the premier change agent in the water and sanitation sector. We want to be able to compete with the regional and international organizations for implementation resources. And we want to develop fundraising strategy to ensure the NGO sustainability. And some examples are marketing data to donors and government, where they will have to pay for that information. Also targeting companies' corporate social responsibility resources and other innovations that we have been developing based on what we have seen with other NGOs in the US as well as in Europe. So I'm going to pause here because I was told that there's limited time for the board of directors and the executive director to review or to participate in this presentation. Before I get into the details of explaining our services, I just want for the board of directors and the executive directors to listen to this component, and if they have time, they can also listen to the services that we will provide them. But I want you all to know that from our network intelligence, the time is now for USNet and Fresh to seriously look into signing the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, because in 2020, USAID is implementing an initiative to give local NGOs direct funding. However, many organizations are ill-equipped to receive these resources. The local NGO that is ready to start will gain the advantage and become a front runner with USAID. When looking at USNet, you fit the criteria, an NGO with NGO members throughout the country. Here is a window of opportunity for USNet. Fresh wants to work and to help you and your members to take full advantage of this opportunity for the long term. Now I will continue with the why and the how of our presentation. The local NGO challenges. What we have discovered is that many local NGOs are unable to receive funds due to financial management weaknesses. Also, local NGOs are unable to receive funds due to procurement weaknesses as well. And local NGOs receiving donors funding have a higher audit findings of non-compliance. And one other element that we find is a challenge is for local NGOs to become sustainable or to survive when they do not have uh, incoming donor funding. And these are all challenges that many local NGOs face. And that's a reality. But in this particular case, um, we have some ideas that might help deal with these challenges. Okay. So our solutions is is the virtual finance controller service that we call VFC, an e-procurement system that that we provide to the local NGO, as we know that getting sufficient staff is always a challenge with donors funding. Also, virtual human resources, timekeeping systems is very important when implementing project activities using donor funding. Grant administration can also be a challenge. You have to understand the contract or the grant agreement and follow it very well for compliance purposes. Um, we also help in proposal writing. And we have a service called ATM. It's basically assessment, training, and monitoring evaluation, where we would do an assessment of a local organization, identify the weaknesses, provide training to strengthen, and then go into monitoring and evaluating uh, those weakness areas. So these are some of our core services that we offer. Now we're going to get into talking in a little detail of, of the main services that we offer. The solution service VFC, Virtual Finance Controller. With this service, we implement this service to strengthen the financial management system. And we do this by providing your financial staff with constant training, because we work within the cloud-based system. We can monitor the activities in real time. And in that, we can provide you feedback and training on the go. We have this online accounting software and other apps that helps your staff provide receipts quickly, and for the accountant to record the transactions and to get them into the books, and to make sure they are in compliant. And this improves the effectiveness of the financial management system. And on top of that, we have a virtual finance advisor that will be providing you guidance, as well as doing some internal control functions of your organization. So we want to provide you the feedback necessary to avoid some of the audit findings that many local organizations, and it's not only local organizations, but also international organizations face. And we use what we call the zero accounting package. We are certified advisors. We also have other packages, but this is the most cost-effective package that we provide. Okay. Now, in this VFC, we have two options. Option number one is we provide the cloud-based accounting system, and we do the oversight of the accounting staff and the functions. We provide the internal audit service and the advisory services, where we will be able to give you advice as well as do monthly or quarterly management reports that will go to the board of directors or the executive director on the financial health of the organization and identifying areas of concern that have not been addressed. With option number two, we also provide the cloud-based accounting system. But in this option, depending on the capacity of the local NGO, we might take over the full function of the financial management department. And we would then provide staff. We would, outsource some staff that will work on the NGO's behalf. And we will have another department that will provide you the internal audit services. And we will also provide you the advisory services as well. So these are the two options that we offer under the VFC. Here's a testimonial that we received from a client. And I'll let you, just read that. And I think that, oftentimes the executive director might not always have a good working knowledge of financial management. And so it's very important to have someone who can come in and identify problems during the implementation. And so I appreciate that remark. The next solution service is our e-procurement service. And again, the way it works is the local NGO feeds us or provides us information for us to communicate in the cloud via email or text message to the pre-qualified vendors in our system. So we're going to talk about this, and we cover the entire procurement cycle from the solicitation to the payment of the vendor. And all of this is maintained in our e-procurement system, so it can easily be audited by the auditors or anyone else who needs to verify, or even the donor who needs to verify the procurement information. So again, we offer a comprehensive procurement system, uh, the entire life cycle of the procurement. And we also streamline the supplier qualifications. The supplier can register online. Once they register, we will go through a process of pre-qualifying them and making them eligible to bid on any request for quotation or proposals that you might have or your subcontractors might have. We shorten the time from bid to award since the information is in our system and can easily be communicated to you and to the vendor. We can shorten the period uh, as well. Let me go back here. Maybe I missed one. Okay. So the next one is reduce the bid documentation costs, because this is coming from our system going into the vendor's email, and they can send us documentation electronically. We send them documentation electronically, and so that reduces the distribution costs. And this is also going to increase supplier competition. What we have realized from our experience is sometimes you only find 3 or 4 vendors when there might be many more out there in the market. So we do all of the pre-qualifications of vendors. We request vendors to register, and we have a team that is constantly sourcing more and more vendors to increase the competition. And then there's just a workflow, and in that workflow, we are able to document that in terms of communications, documentation, modifications. All of this is done within our system and can be and is more transparent. Now, highlighting some of the other features as we look at the local NGO, again, we talked about pre-qualifying suppliers. We continually search for suppliers. We provide past performance of suppliers, so then you will know how other local NGOs have experienced those suppliers and their records, whether or not they are 3-star, 5-star. And with this, because this is a consortium of local NGOs who feeds into our procurement system, we can negotiate volume discounts. So the supplier should give you the best price in our system. Now, for the vendors, the benefits, self-service in terms of they can register online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This also increases their exposure to USAID procurements. We do provide training to vendors on procurement regulations, as we want all vendors to have a fair chance in winning your business. And we provide feedback to the bids in terms of price being too high, documentation not being sufficient, we provide that to the vendors. Other features for the local NGO is that we provide you an automated bid tabulation. We also can send you out messages by email, and we track the delivery tracking of items that are being sent to you as well. And then for the vendor, what we try to encourage them is not to practice corruption. And so with our system, we eliminate uh, a vast amount of corrupt practices. And then we also try to ensure the vendor that they are going to be paid on time. And so if you all do not pay on time, then you all will have to pay a late fee in accordance to the USAID guidelines. And we want to encourage vendors to participate, as we will assure them that this will increase their sales and profitability if they participate in this service. This is the site that the vendors will see in terms of registering for us. They will register, and after registration, they can log in. Anytime a bid is sent to them, they get a notification to bid. And so it works pretty well. And this is ready to go in Uganda. Sorry about that. Now, the procurement cycle. Again, the qualifications of vendors, I've explained that to you, and we do put them in different categories of the services and products they provide. This allows us to quickly broadcast your bid to them via internet. It's online bidding, so they will receive the information and they will bid and send attachments online. So then we can send that information to you all in a bid analysis report. So you can compare the different bids from different vendors as well as past performances. And, once you all make a decision, we then issue your purchase order to the vendor electronically, and they will then deliver. Once they deliver, they will send us a copy of the delivery note as well as the invoice, and we will be transmitting that to you all, and then you all will pay us, and then we will pay the vendor to ensure that the vendor is paid on time. Now here's a report, a bid analysis report that you will receive once all of the vendors have bid within that time frame. And you can see here, the prices and the different vendors. Not sure how clear that is for you all. And then you will see the past performance, and then there will be a rating. And then if there is some significant points, we would then put that below from other local NGOs about the performance of these vendors. So let Fresh Global bring efficient and transparency to your procurement operation today. With this service, um, what we will do with UWatchNet, we will give you this service free of charge for the first year, as we are so we're so proud of this service, as we have had experiences uh, with other international and local NGOs in regards to procurement corruption. Is greatly needed. Now, let's turn our attention to the solution services of the virtual HR. With the HR service, this is done through our sister organization in Uganda. And what they offer is recruitment services. And in that, they can review CVs and shortlist qualified candidates, participate in selection committee, and design a competent assessment of candidates. They help in developing or even modifying, revising your HR manuals, provide job training to your HR specialist or manager, and develop a personnel database. In addition, we also offer what we call a timekeeping system, and the application that we use is called T-Sheets. And we also provide payroll services to you all as well, where we can take care of the staff payroll and taxes with the virtual HR service. Now, with the virtual HR service, we have two options. One, we provide you the cloud-based HR system, and the team provides oversight of your HR function and staff, the payroll, and advisory services, questions that you might have regarding the labor law or any other HR questions. And option number two, we provide the cloud-based HR system. But in this particular case, if if you don't have an HR staff, or you are going to be hiring a lot of staff and really don't have the capacity, we can provide an HR person, outsource an HR person to you all, and that person could work on you all's behalf. And again, we can provide the payroll service as well as the advisory services as well to you all. Now, another solution service that we offer is the ATM. This one doesn't apply to you all necessarily, but let me explain it. We do a pre-award assessment of your organization, or if you have subcontractors, like you have NGO members, we would do the assessment and then find out their weaknesses and put in a plan to strengthen them with some training. And it could be financial management, procurements. And again, all of the training will lead back to the services that we can provide. And then we would then monitor and evaluate them as well. And this is called our ATM. And that's our services, our core services that we wanted to express to you today. If you have any questions, please send those questions to us. I just want to leave you this note by Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. And I think that's something that you always have to keep in mind. Here's the contact information. You can contact me via email with any of the questions that you might have, and we can set up a conference call or a Zoom meeting to discuss those questions. Um, but but again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. You can always go back, pause, write down your questions, uh, and then come back to me. But this is the end of the presentation. I look forward to talking to you all and working with you all soon. We have an opportunity and we need to take advantage of it as soon as we can. Thank you.